Penn and Belfield Street, 414 Penn Street. We invite you to come out where we engage in the art of pro and conversation as we search for the truths that are found in the Quran and the Hadiths. We challenge you to come out and exercise and or exorcise your mind. According to Hadith, an hour of study is more blessed than an entire night of prayer. It's taken from the Al-Bukhari Hadith collection. Please be advised that the opinions may or may not be the views and opinions of our beloved Imam Sujuddin Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, we just like to greet you all, welcome you all here at Masjid Muhammad. I'd like to take the opportunity and time to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. Again, it's always a great pleasure for me to be here with my brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. The Prophet said whenever a Muslim speaks to other Muslims in a learning forum, to always welcome them in his name. So I welcome you in the name of our Messenger Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And again, thank you for coming out, because I know there was other things you could be doing. As you know, we're going to have our program Islam in Focus following my brief talk, inshallah. Last week, we were reading in Surah 6, a couple of very important ayats, and I want to revisit that. Because there was one ayat that we read through, but we don't really focus on it. And the thing is, as I've explained to my brothers before the class started, each thing that God created has two aspects of its existence. Its outer existence and its essence, which is the inner. A good example of that is if you take an egg. The egg has a shell, but its substance, its essence is inside the shell. If you remove the shell, then you're there at its essence. The same thing with verses from the Quran. The same thing with the sayings of Muhammad. There's some that you can take literally, but everything in the Quran also has a hidden meaning or a deeper meaning. And that's called the meat and potatoes, which a lot of us fail to grasp. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. Everybody have a Holy Quran? If not, if you can tolerate my babbling, inshallah, I'll read for you. But I want to go to Surah 6 again and ayat 32. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Alhamdulillah. Allah be praised. Surah 6, like all surahs, has many levels and meanings. The Quran is a book that you just can't read. You have to meditate on it and you have to pray upon it so that Allah will reveal to you the essence of the verses. The verse says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ وَلَدَارُ الْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Listen to this, it's very important. And this world's life is naught but a play and an idle sport. And certainly the abode of the hereafter is better for those who guard against evil. Do you not then understand? When you look at this verse, the first thing that might come to your mind is, as far as sport and play, basketball, pastime issues, right? But you have to look at the Arabic word to get its meaning. Now, I'm going to go to my Arabic dictionary and just read to you briefly the meaning. Laiba is the word that's listed as for play. And it says, to play, disport, drool like a baby drools, jest, pastime, engage in idle sport without meaning or purpose. Okay? Now, the other word, lahwa, to preoccupy, beguile, distract, plague, divert, forget, delight, turn away. The reason why I gave you the meaning is because it reveals what that verse means about sport and play. It's talking about the things of this world that distracts you from the remembrance of Allah. If you understand who you are and what you are, you would see the truth in that verse. The thing is, people, they read the verses, they go to the next verse, forget about that verse. But that's one of the key verses in the Quran that's supposed to get the human being to reflect. What are the things that distract the human being? What is sport and play? Sport and play and distraction is anything that takes your mind off the focus of your eternal reality. Anything that takes your mind off of the truth of your Creator's existence. Do you understand? We could talk about this one verse for the next 1,400 years and not touch its full meaning. Why? Because wherever you look, you see a distraction. Wherever you pick up, it takes away from the remembrance of Allah. And these things blind you to your true humanity. Today's lesson is about an introduction to yourself. Who? Shukran Jazira, my sister. Who and what you are is very, very important, because the way things are set up in creation, everything is designed to blind you from your essence and your reality. And there's a price to pay. There's a price to pay. What we're going to do is we're going to do a break so we can make salat. Thank God for being here today, and inshallah we'll return. Assalamu alaikum. Praise be to Allah. We hear the dumb voice of a Muslim brother communicating to Allah. Alhamdulillah. Back to the discussion. By the grace of Allah, we made salat, and I pray that everybody's prayer was accepted. We were talking about diversion. In the Quran, we read in Surah 6, Ayat 32. Let me give you some examples of this verse. And this world's life is naught but play and an idle sport, and certainly the abode of the hereafter is better for those who guard against evil. Do you not then understand? Let me give you an example, as I just said. One of the things that diverts humanity from the remembrance of Allah, politics. Politics. Politics is absolutely essential for human survival, because you have to have social order. So it's not so much as a condemnation of the political structure as the involvement in politics, where the human being bases his or her life around its process. A human being is supposed to keep their focus upon Allah the Most High and your inevitable return to His realm. Now, another diversion is sports. Another diversion, spouses, children. Each and everything that you encounter in your existence, you must put into perspective. You must, according to the principle of Tawheed, keep Allah as the sole focus of your life, the main focus of your life. Everything else, Allah says in this book, is a trial, even husbands, wives, and children. Now, does that mean that you have to walk around all day with blinders on and focus upon God? No, because part of His decree is that there be human interaction. The thing is this, your human interaction should be based on your connection to God. And you should be trying to guide every human being that you come across to God's remembrance. Now, when you look at the verse again, this world, the life of this world is naught but play and idle sport. What that also means is the life of this world, which you only go around one time, is very, very short. It's very, very short. How many people do you know that died last year? Their test of life is over. Any human being that is deceased will no longer have the opportunity to do good for themselves or do harm for themselves. If they did not leave righteous children behind them to do charitable acts in their name, then they will be left as they are without having any more good deeds added to their account. But see, it's not just good deeds, it's the wrong deeds that you do that perpetuate after your death that continue to add bad deeds to your account. Do you understand? Muslims don't really understand who and what they are. I'm not saying all Muslims, I'm saying some Muslims. There are a lot of people who are not Muslims per se, but understand their temporal nature and try to do some good works or to try to set up charities that will perpetuate upon their demise. Can we go to Surah 7, Ayat 172 real quick? Because that ayat reveals your essence, and we've been over that several times in the class, but I see some new faces here, so we'll briefly revisit that issue.
72.
And when your Lord brought forth from the children of Adam, from their backs, their descendants, and made them bear witness against their own souls, am I not your Lord? They said, yes. We bear witness lest you should say on the day of resurrection, surely we were heedless of this. This is another verse that demands inspection and reflection. What this verse, to the average person who's reading this verse, they're going to associate this with the prophet Adam and his offspring, which is in itself is a lesson, because most of us don't even know who Adam was. Most of us don't even comprehend the real story of Adam and his wife and his descendants. But what this is telling you, and what you have to remember, is that each Quranic verse has an essence. There's a meaning inside of it that you must discover to get at its root and its truth. To read this verse literally will do you no good. But if you read it, its meaning, its hidden meaning, what you learn from this is that this is speaking about the day of creation, when Allah created every single soul, which is what? The essence of the human being. You see my shell, you can't possibly see my essence. It's hidden from me. Do you understand? You cannot see my essence, you're looking at my shell. This verse is talking about the essence of every living, sentient being. When you were created at that time, Allah in his infinite glory was manifested to you, not in his personage, because you will never, ever, ever see or discover his essence. But you knew that you did not will yourself into life or creation. It was done by God. And because you knew this in your primordial state, you realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was true. And you saw his power by your own manifestation, and you acknowledged him. That's what the verse is saying. The reason why Allah is putting this verse in the Quran, so that you will understand that you cannot play the dumb or deaf card. You understand? When you die, there is no excuse, because part of your essence gives testimony to La ilaha illallah. Do you understand? For this reason, Muhammad himself said, peace be upon him, if a soul testifies to La ilaha illallah, Allah owes them paradise. You may still have to serve some time in hell for your sins, but you will be brought out. You understand? But guess what? That hadith in itself has an essence. Did Muhammad say, La ilaha illallah wa Muhammadur Rasulullah? Did he say that in that hadith? No. He said, whoever says La ilaha illallah Allah is obligated by that acknowledgement to bring them out of the fire if they merit it. Why do I say that? Because it is not a requirement for humanity in its total to say Muhammadur Rasulullah. And I'll tell you why. Listen to me good. What about those souls who've never heard of Muhammad? Are they to be punished or penalized for what they don't know? Allah is the most just. A human being would not punish a person for what they don't know. What about God, who says he is the most merciful of all those who show mercy? You can't pinpoint his mercy. You can't narrow it down. So if anybody bears witness that there's no God but Allah, Allah will bring them out, even out of the fire, if they merit that type of punishment. Do you understand? So it is ingrained in your life essence to acknowledge your Creator. That's what that verse is saying. Now, we're going to jump to Surah 50. This is my favorite surah. This is a surah I've been studying for years, because right from the outset, it grabbed my soul. Surah 50 is Surah Qaf. And like I said, the people who attend our weekly classes are familiar with this surah and what I'm about to say. But for those people who have just come, this should be enlightening for you, inshallah. I'm going to keep my talk brief because we have our dynamic speaker and moderator waiting to educate us in Islam in focus. We're going to go to ayat 15. It says, "Were we then fatigued with the first creation, yet are they in doubt with regard to a new creation?" This is Allah, the Most High, talking to men, to humanity, who don't believe that they will be resurrected and judged for what they did in this life, who think that it's impossible for Allah, the Most High, to recreate the human being after it has become deceased. But now listen to this. He says, "And certainly we created man, and we know what his mind suggests to him, and we are nearer to him than his life vein." Again, that's the shell of the egg. Look at the essence. Allah is telling you that that energy inside your flesh that propels you, the energy inside your flesh that causes you to think, to rationalize, to make decisions, Allah is closer to that than you possibly are to yourself. That's what he's saying. He's saying, like we read last week, he knows your secret thoughts, you know, what you hide and what you manifest. He knows it. You can hide your perversions from another human being, but Allah is a party to it. Do you understand? Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Praise be to Allah, he doesn't punish us for what we think. He punishes us for what we do. But he rewards us if what we think is good. Again, he's the most merciful of those who show mercy. Now, when the two receivers receive, sitting on the right and on the left, he utters not a word, but there is by him a watcher at hand. It's talking again about your inner essence. You are not alone inside that entity which you call your jism or your body. When Allah tells you, or when Muhammad, peace be upon him, said there's an angel on the right and on the left, when he tried to clarify it, what Allah said in the Quran, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have sitting on your shoulders with pens and pad angelic beings who are recording what you say. Do you know what part of you records what you say? Your brain. There's aspects of your brain that record everything you see, what you pay attention to and what you don't pay attention to. But there are sentient living beings around every single human being to assist you in your life. Allah tells you this. So there are recorders recording all your deeds, and the reason why they have to be distinct from you, because you can cry, wait a minute, I was sick that day, I did this, I did that, that part of me is misquoting me, yada, yada, yada. But we've got individual beings actually recording what you do. You have no defense. You understand? And then Allah says, and the stupor of death will come in truth. That is what you were trying to escape. This verse is connected to the other verse in Surah 6, ayat 32. What were you trying to escape? Your inevitable reality, your death. Therefore, everything you did was to glorify your existence in the life of this world, making no mention or preparation for your eternal life which is to come. The stupor of death will touch every single one of us. Every single one of us. Each day, each night, you should be reflecting upon that, because you could leave at any time. Read your obituaries. How many of you lost a friend last year? A family member? Guess what? Each and every one of us will have a tag on their toe. It's inevitable. Why are you making preparations? You are going to die. You are going to die. It's a part of your existence. But you know why people try to avoid it? They don't understand it. They think it's the end of their existence, that there will be no life force left for Allah to judge. Death is not the end. Death is the separation of the essence. It's like taking the egg and cracking it open and letting the yolk come out. Your shell is going to break. And guess what? Most of you, your families will be looking at your shell, crying over you, spending lots of money for you to be put in a hole when your essence is free and gone. Muslims do not glorify the shells. That's why you think we hurry up and get you buried, because you're going to start stinking. Do you understand? We don't glorify shells. The only people who do that are people who don't understand this book and don't believe really in Yawmul Qiyamah. If you really believed in Yawmul Qiyamah or the resurrection, you would look at the person's body and say, let's hurry up, get this thing out of here. If you understood the Quran, you would say, let's hurry up and get that meat buried, that lifeless carcass. Like my brother Imam is famous for saying, a human being is a soul dragging around a corpse. Dragging around a corpse. Do you understand? The minute you forget your ultimate goal, the minute you become entrapped in the life of this world. Hence, back to that verse. Surah 6, verse 32. Now, and the trumpet shall be blown. That is the day of threatening. Listen to this. Very important. And every soul shall come with it a what? Driver. And what? A witness. What is the essence of this verse? What do you learn from it?
Soul can move by itself.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Did you hear what he said? The soul does not have the ability to transport itself. Why do you think your soul is entombed in this? Because this is what manifests the desire and will of the soul. Your bodies. It's only a vehicle. It's only something that the soul uses to this expiration point. The soul doesn't die, the body breaks down by the will and command of God. Your soul is going to be extracted, and this piece of meat will go back to where it came, and your soul goes where?
Back to where it came.
Back to where it came. And this is why they always talk about fear of God. You should have taqwa or fear of Allah. For a long time, I could not associate fear of God with religion, because if you love God, there's no fear. But then when you start meditating upon your ultimate reality, you should be terribly afraid of God. Why? He does not share your human sentiment and emotion. He kills kids. He destroys civilizations. I shouldn't have said that. See the little girl there? And the kids, I'm sorry. He's very nice to us. I apologize. I'm trying to get the adults to see that our situation is very, very serious. And we need to impart this into our children so that they grow up with taqwa. See, the thing is this. The prophets, like the brother asked me about the prophets and their choice to do evil or good. And I explained to them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed them, the prophets, the end result of the human endeavor in this life. They're going to get this or that. And then we talked about, if I told you there was a man with a gun around the corner waiting to blow your brains out, and then you happen to peek and see him, but he didn't see you, are you going to go around that corner? Only a fool will go around that corner. That's why prophets don't sin, because they saw it. They know what was waiting for the human being. Do you understand? And that verse is so important. And every soul shall come with it a driver and a witness. The soul has not the ability to propel itself. Once the angel rip your soul out of your body, you're helpless. There's no running. That's why then God said there's no place to flee. You can't flee because you will be in the grasp of the angel who flinches not in executing Allah's will. Do you understand? You'll have a witness there with you. That witness is that, or the angels who recorded everything you did, go to bed. That's what's waiting for you. This is what's waiting for you when you become deceased. Every single one of us has that waiting for us. Certainly, you were heedless of it, but now we have removed from you your veil. So your sight today is sharp. What is the veil, class? What is the veil?
Carcass, your body.
Absolutely. This is your veil. This is your veil. While you are in your flesh, all you want to do is satisfy your desires and appetites. All you want to do is have food, water, family, good job, kids, things that what? Sport and play, things that connect you to the life of this world. But your sight will become sharp once again. And this goes back to the verse in Surah 7, ayat 172. It's all connected. That day of creation, when you acknowledge God, once you're from here, you acknowledge him again. Now, his companion shall say, this is what is ready with me. And then it will be said, do cast into hell every ungrateful, rebellious one. Listen to this. Forbitter of good, exceeder of limits, doubter, who set up another God with Allah, so do cast him into severe chastisement. No, it's not talking about people who worship idols. The other God with Allah is the things that are pastimes, the things that you gave importance to more than remembrance of Allah. Very few people in the world today actually still worship sticks and stones. They're still here, but most people don't do that. They worship material things, cars, jobs, money. Do you understand? That and these things are good for you, but don't put them in the place of Allah. Keep the remembrance of God in your thoughts. His companion will say, our Lord, I did not lead him into a northern sea, but he himself was in great error. Why did his companion say that? And who is the companion? The companion is the angel. The companion is everything that you can conceive and concoct to try to put the blame on. Why you did not remember Allah. Why you did not honor him. Why you weren't fair to other human beings. Why you persisted in your denial of reality. Why you allowed the things of this life to blind you to your inevitable event. And Allah will say, do not quarrel in my presence. And indeed, I gave you the threatening beforehand. Every human being, at least you know about the threatening beforehand. You understand? It's going to come. It's going to come. My words shall not be changed, nor am I in the least unjust to the servants. The Sharia of Allah, the Sunnah of Allah does not change. What is it? To acknowledge him, to pray to him, to treat all human beings fairly. to help those who are hungry, to help the poor. Do you understand? And I'm going to close on this note. What you see in the so-called Islamic world is not what is represented in this book. What you see in the so-called Islamic world is not representing the teachings of Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you understand? One of the things that has blinded the Muslims is the nonsense of sectarianism, the nonsense of schools of thought, the nonsense of exclusivist orders, the nonsense of the conception that you must follow an individual before you follow Muhammad. There is no individual who can guide you to Muhammad except you. Because what does Allah say in the Quran al-Kareem? What does he say? What did he say in Surah Rahman? In Surah 55, what did he say?
Whichever favorite book you do not.
Alama Quran. Alama Quran. He taught the Quran. He teaches the Quran. I can't teach you, he teaches you. You hear my words, you could associate it with some parts of the Quran, but it doesn't sink in except by his permission. He says in other surahs, I can't name the verse, but in Surah, matter of fact, in Surah 75, I'll go there and then I will conclude. Inshallah, you'll get something out, and then we'll go right to Islam in focus. But Surah 75, and my Muslim sisters, I always tell you, you need to cling to that surah. He's talking to the Prophet ﷺ. Do not move your tongue with it to make haste with it. Surely on us devolves the collection of it and the reciting of it. Therefore, when we have recited it, follow its recitation. And 19, which is the heart of it. Again, on us devolves the explaining of it. Do you understand? On God devolves the explaining of the Quran al-Kareem. Any questions? Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. And welcome again to another segment of El Islam in Focus from an African American perspective. My name is Imam Jamil Abdullah. I'll be your host and moderator today. We're going to deal with a very important topic. And the topic today is sisters that are marrying brothers that are incarcerated. We want to know from you and them whether they feel it's a good thing or is it bad. So we invited some very distinguished guests. First we have Sister Mukmina Days, who was also a member of Masjid Muhammad here in Philadelphia, PA. And we also have a special guest, Imam Sutuddin Muhammad, who's the resident Imam here at Masjid Muhammad. And we're going to begin our questions. First, I'd just like to open it up to our Sister Mukmina. If you can tell us, just give us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to come on this program to talk about the issue.
This issue is very important to me. I have a lot of background. I've been running a prison band service since 1993. And I'm still running that service right now today. I take mothers, sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, and I also take wives and girlfriends out to the prisons to see inmates. Sometimes they call me up. They want somebody to listen to their story. They want somebody to hear how they feel, what's going on. And I'm usually that ear, so I've heard lots of stories.
And Imam Sutuddin, if you could just give us a little bit in relationship to how you feel about sisters that are marrying brothers that are incarcerated.
Well, one, I think it's a very serious situation that's happening. And, myself, we used to look into it and to see what all that entails. One of the things is, to tell you the truth, me personally, I think it's kind of difficult really to do. a large number of sisters. I did thousands of weddings, and so there's a large number of sisters who are now inquiring about marrying brothers who are incarcerated, so forth. And I've seen it as far as sisters that are attempting to marry brothers who have life, who are never coming home. And so it's a serious situation. And let me just say this, though, that's why I think really in our community, women outnumber men. Some say 7 to 1, some say 11 to 1. And then when you're talking about a good man, it might be 20 to 1. And so when we look at that, I think that's why really the need is so big, in our community for brothers to begin to marry these sisters and take on sisters and so forth, because sisters are trying to marry brothers who are incarcerated. And one that brought to mind to me, once you marry a person, you have to consummate the marriage. And so I don't know, got some other tricks up in prison or what have you. I don't know how it can almost be done. So you have to consummate the marriage. There's also a dowry, a gift that has to be given, and then the man is responsible for maintaining and providing for the sister as well. And so it's just a difficult situation for something like that to take place.
Sister Lamine, I do recall that you sending information to the office that you had experienced a situation like that before. If you don't mind, can you articulate on it?
Yes. I was also married to an inmate. I got married back in '89, and I was married up until 2002. About that time.
And how was it? Was he able to provide for you, or did he send you commissary money, or I don't know? I mean, how was he able to take care of it? I mean, I'm just asking.
The truth is, I always worked.
Okay.
And I always consider myself to be a feminist. Even in Islam, I consider that. But at the same time, I hear you. And no, he did, well, yes, he sent me everything he made. But no, it wasn't enough to keep a household running. But I want to say the background to that was I was married before to a gentleman out here who was supposed to be a good man.
Right.
But that was a very horrible experience for me in my first marriage. And so I started traveling with another sister who was married up in the prison. And I traveled with her. And at the time, in my head, at the time, it seemed like something that would work. We made it work for 10 years. But really, in the long run, it came apart.
So did you experience a lot of emotional stress, or
Emotional
just
stress.
by him not being there? And
Oh,
so, because I heard the imam speak about when you do get married, you have to consummate your marriage. So
all of those things,
Okay.
all of those things he's talking about, there are roadblocks to all of those things. Say that word again. Consummating the marriage, taking care of the household, children, all of those things, they're roadblocks. And that's why I wouldn't recommend it today. But at the same time, I think those sisters who are considering it need someone who's been there to talk to them, not somebody who hasn't been there. When someone who hasn't been there talk, they make judgments. I feel they make judgments. They already have preconceived ideas of how it is. Somebody just told me a minute ago, hey, I know he was very controlling, because that might be a preconceived notion that because he's up there, he's controlling you from up there, because that's the only thing he's got is control. He doesn't have anything else to give you. And that wasn't the case either, but at the same time, I still recommend it.
So now, Imam Sufuddin, I'll ask you a question now. What would you recommend a sister, for example, if she was married to a brother, then a brother was incarcerated, say he had about 20 years, what would you advise her?
Well, one, let me say this. I mean, because let's just be for real about it, be frank about it. And one of the things when you ask the sister the question about did the brother send her commissary money, it was kind of funny, in a way. We just, found ourselves chuckling about it. But it's not really a laughing matter. One, because our brothers
alone on state roads spend $1 million a month in commissary. So there's a lot of money there somewhere. They spend almost $1 million a month in commissary. Two, when we're talking about, again, consummating marriage, and then, we're talking about brothers who are married already to sisters, then find themselves incarcerated. Now, that's a sticky situation, where you really have to look at that, because all kinds of things can transpire there. I mean, if you're really looking at it, you're talking about a guy doing 20 years, and he leaves a wife out here, or she has 3 children, 4 children, 6 children, to leave a wife out here with those many children. I think one of the things is that you would have to begin to think, do you want to release the sister in kindness? Do you want to let her go? And so forth, because in a situation like that, there's just all kinds of doors that can open. If he can't be with the sister, people have needs and so forth. And so if he can't be with the sister, it leaves doors open for, other people to approach her. That's one thing that you really have to think about. Another thing you have to think about, leaving her behind with all of these different children, all these different bills, and you're not able to take care of those bills, take care of the sister and so forth. And so I would say, me personally, that if I found myself in a situation like that, I pray that I never do. But I would have to look at probably just releasing the sister, divorcing the sister, and allowing her to go on with her life and be able to live a life that Allah will have her, really live. One of the things that I do want to say when you're talking about incarceration marriages, one is that we have a lot of people who pray and play on a lot of our sisters who are out here. And what happens is that you have sisters who don't know these guys from anything, and their friends introduce them to a guy up in prison. Next thing you know, you got an $800 a month phone bill. Next thing you know, you taking out your time from your family, going up visiting this guy. This guy don't even know you, and so then you're taking away from the money from your children and so forth, putting it on this guy's books, and so a lot of times, what I find a lot of marriages like that, they're not going to say all of them, but probably 80% of them really is almost like a joke. Really, when you start playing on sisters like that, the phone bill is $800, the sister traveling 6 hours, every 2 weeks to come visit you, getting on this bus 4 o'clock in the morning to go visit this guy that she never knew, that a friend introduced her to. We heard so many horror stories. And me personally, I wouldn't marry a sister to a brother that's incarcerated. I wouldn't perform a marriage.
I just want to piggyback on what you said about being able to take care of her. And one big thing that came up a lot is he couldn't even protect me, but I do want to say this also. It would have been the most unselfish thing also, and kindest thing, for him to have released me from that marriage. But he was very selfish, and he did not, and that's okay. Well, I took care of that later. But just to be protected, there were certain situations where brothers approached me, and I had to say, no, I'm married. And other things would happen in the street, and who could I call? Who could I turn to? My helpmate? No, he's incarcerated. Who could I get to help protect me? I have family. I have a network of people. We had a network of people, but he was still absent from being able to even protect me. Just wanted to bring that up.
Imam Sududdin, do you find that now becoming a common practice in the Islamic community?
Yes, without a doubt. One, because of this show, Islam Today, we're grateful to it, and for the class that takes place prior to this, we're grateful to it because the practices that you see happening in Islam is because 80% of the people don't know the first thing about Islam. And so they only really being what they're told, what they're hearing. A sister comes in Islam Today, she's a new shahada, she hears the martyr, she has to get married. She goes looking throughout the community, there's no available brothers. Then somebody comes up, well, I know a brother in prison, why don't you write him? We feel very bad for our brothers that are in prison, believe me. And I think we lost some of our best soldiers that are incarcerated. and everybody incarcerated probably shouldn't be incarcerated. But one of the things is that you don't pull, an innocent sister or innocent family, into that type of situation, knowing what you're doing, knowing what you plan on, what you praying on, you just don't do that.
Okay, now I see we have, anything you want to say?
I just wanted to add to that, what you said, makes me think of different things to say. As far as praying on sisters, yes, they do pray on sisters. They have lots of time to think of ways to woo you and to get you to be on their side and to believe in what they're trying to serve you.
So,
And
Sister
they can be
Marina, I
very
don't mean to cut
convincing.
you. Something came to my mind when you said woo you. What are some of the things they do to woo you?
Well, some of the things, they send you candy. They can send you candy. They get somebody up there to do a beautiful portrait or picture of something. They send that to you and say, oh, that's so nice. They know all the nice things to say. Sometimes, really, when I think back those 10 years and the letters we wrote back and forth, I wrote a letter about what's going on outside, and that was his connection to the outside. He wrote me a letter about how much he loved me. And mostly, when I look at it, most of his letters, that's all they were about was how much he loved me, not about who he was, what he did. Even though I had his papers, I thought I had his papers. Found out later I had an abbreviated version of his papers.
What kind of papers are you talking
It's
about?
court papers, it's
Court-
color
okay.
papers. That let you know why they're there and what happened. Lose my thought.
Oh, well, thank you anyway. We're going to just take a commercial break, and we'll be back, inshallah, God willing, in 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to El Islam in Focus. We'd like to welcome our guests and our panelists for being here. And I just want to open up and start something that Imam Shuddin said earlier that I wanted him to just expound upon. He said that there's a lot of brothers that are incarcerated, which means there's a lot of sisters out here that doesn't have husbands. So are you saying that it's going to come a time, or it's coming to the time where brothers are going to have to take on co-wives?
Well, what I want to say, really, is this right here, is that the Quran has been written from the times of Muhammad the Prophet, praise and peace be upon him, all the way up until today. And that's when Revelation came down, for the men to marry the widows and the orphans. And so if we look at our time, again, we look at now, these times are very similar. The times of the Prophet, praise and peace be upon him, we find ourselves in similar times now. There were a lot of wars going on, there were a lot of women left behind who was widows, a lot of women who were left behind who were orphans, whole families were wiped out. And so we see the same thing today, that we have our young brothers who are finding themselves incarcerated 20 years, 40 years, life, ain't never coming home, leaving women behind with 4, 5, 6 children. And as I said before, women outnumber the men already 7-1, some say 11-1. And, so to offset that balance, I think it is time for us, really to begin to look at this. I mean, we have to worry about the whole, Islamic concept and Islam taking root in our life, really to be able to live up to these things. But without a doubt, I mean, the truth of the matter is that when we see our women heading up to the prison to marry men who are never coming home, strangers that they never knew before, that's a serious problem. We have to begin to take a look at that. And we have to look and see, why is that taking place? And so, similar to the times of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when women now are left behind, with 4 and 5 children, no man, husband ain't never coming home, or, some of the young guys are getting murdered in the streets, killed in the streets and so forth, leaving these women, to fend for themselves. I think that is something that we seriously have to begin to take a look at. And I say that, this is very serious, because if we laugh at the matter, or laugh at sisters who are trying to go up to the prison and marry a brother, because you got to really look at that. For a sister to go up to want to marry a man that she never knew before, the guy is never coming home in his life, can't provide for her, he's making 25 cents a day or 25 cents an hour, what have you, then I think that, the obligation falls on us, the men that are left behind, to begin to look at the extension of our family, and be able to take on something. I think that's true.
We have a new guest with us today, Sister Asada. Is that correct? Okay. And she just wanted to explain, she's going to tell us a situation that happened to her in relationship to marrying a brother that was incarcerated.
Yeah, I married a brother that was incarcerated for, a little bit of time, and I was pregnant, and I couldn't, at the time I was having so many problems in my pregnancy, or whatever, that after, giving birth, I lost both of my children, and he couldn't support me. I'm an orphan, I don't have a family or anything like that, so he was basically all I had, and I had to struggle, for, burying my kids by myself, dealing with the stress and things like that, and it was like nothing really that he could do because he was incarcerated, and I was, by myself, and it's like none of the words that he would say to me or tell me couldn't really help me. It was just like, it was real struggle. I was lost. I lost all hope, and it was just horrible. There was nothing that he could do. He was locked up.
Thank you for that. And I just wanted to say that's why it's very important, just what Imam Sutuddin said, that we really have to establish an Islamic community so when sisters are in situations like that, they don't have, when it comes to being an orphan, she knows that there's somebody that she can turn to, and men can begin to stand up to the plate and start looking after our sisters that are orphans and widows. So she wouldn't have to be in a situation. And if we had a strong Islamic community, she would not have had to go through that. And she would have had sisters that would have supported her and said, well, look, come on and be a part of our family, and we can make this thing better for everybody, inshallah. Now I'm going to open up. I see there's some hands up in the audience. Yes, my brother.
I was just touching on the basis of the polygamy might have to start, happening. I was just wondering, for the younger brother, this is where, the focus should be at. For the older brothers that's practicing polygamy, to start teaching what you're going to have to do, how to go about it. Because I know my grandfather, himself, he's been married for 23 years to 2 women. And he don't have an extreme amount of wealth. So it's something he did to orchestrate.
So I want you, what's your question?
The question is that I want to know how these, Susadine being one of them, how do men that, don't have an extreme amount of funds start going about this?
I'll tell you, you could sign up for my class. I started a couple weeks from now. It's not funny. But I appreciate your question. Let me just say to you, just personally, I think again, it starts with the Islamic process and Islam in your life. One of the things that happened to me is that coming into Islam, I always just wanted to do everything that God said was permissible. That's just me personally. Prior to coming into Islam, I was scared to go to a funeral. I wouldn't dare go to a funeral. All this stuff. I came to Islam when I was 11 years old. And so after coming into Islam, I found myself not scared to go to a funeral, but now washing bodies. I found myself, I said I would never fly on an airplane. I saw myself flying 14 hours to go to Mecca, to make the Hajj. And so Islam, I saw myself slaughtering animals, for slaughter, cutting animals' heads off, hot blood, warm blood, just jumping all on you, And so I me personally, I just wanted to do everything that God said was permissible. I said I was a Muslim, and so I wanted to do everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said was permissible in the religion. And so therefore, I found myself, taking on another wife, found myself in that type of situation. And I think one of the things that you really got to look at, though, is that we have to look at it as an extension of our family, And so the time are very similar, just like in the times of the Prophet, that we have to see Islam as real today as it was then, but we got to see it for our time now. And so, just like I said, young brothers are being murdered in the streets. They're leaving sisters behind with 4 or 5 children. They're going to jail forever, never coming home again, leaving these children behind, and so forth. And so, the reality of it is that we got to deal with it. We're dealing with one situation or with one topic about them going and marrying brothers that are incarcerated. Is either they marry us, or they marry a brother that's incarcerated, or they marry another sister. That's the reality of it. And so that's what we have to begin to deal with. No, we got to keep it real. A lot of people, they don't want to deal with real stuff. And Muslims don't think that a lot of those real topics and issues affect us, but they do. And so that we live and we real people, you know, this stuff affect us just like it affect anybody else. And so we're going to be on top of our job, and I think it's an excellent question. You know, it's not something really almost that you can almost really just teach a person. You know, like I said, first the Islamic process has to really take root in your life. You have to really love Allah. You have to really, you know, believe what you say you believe in. I mean, really to be able to do that. To do this, because you know most people think, oh, I feel sorry for the sisters. It's harder on a man than it is the woman. You know, believe me, you have to deprogram yourself to go from one home to the next home. You know, what's happening over in this home might not be happening over in this home. You got grown children over in this home. You got babies over in this home. You know, so it's a whole different experience, and it's just not easy, and it's not a piece of cake, but it's just something that needs to be done. I mean, it's something that we really need to begin to look at. You know, if we're going to fix a lot of the ills and problems that we have in our community.
One moment. Sister Rahim, I see you had a question. Oh, I thought I seen your hand. Yes, my brother.
Yes, question to the sister, right? Could you repeat your name?
Sister Mukmina.
Yeah, Amina. Yes, Mukmina. Okay, I hear a lot of wisdom and knowledge and your experience, you know, with your situation, right? But to better help us to understand this phenomenon, could you explain to us, like, your mindset when you first made the decision to take on the responsibility of a husband that was incarcerated?
Yes, okay. At that time, back in '89, I had just gotten out of a very bad marriage. I had a husband who did come home, kept me in the house without heat, brand new baby. He did not physically abuse me. I would say he mentally abused me. It was horrible. Just to do something, to go somewhere, I started going with another sister to visit her husband in prison. She finally puts me on another brother's list. I can start visiting him. At that time, I was really in the mindset I was never ever in my life going to get married again. That's how I felt. Never, ever. So this was safe. He's up there. We'll talk. I'll visit. I could say being a woman, I like hearing nice things, and he said all the right things. Also, I thought he was coming home. He told me at 5 years tops, he gave me his papers, or what like I said, what I thought were his papers. You never know. You don't know. Even if you think you know, you don't know. And that's where I was at.
Yeah, let the sister here, you can explain what your mindset when it first happened to you.
The only reason why I did accept this person is because I grew up without a family, without somebody to love me, and I ran looking for love in all the wrong places. And he told me what I wanted to hear. He said that he loved me. He made me feel like a person. So whatever he said, you know, I took to it. I like something like a leech. I clicked to him and I held on because he was all I had. I ain't have no family to turn to. I ain't have a mother or a father to tell me what's right and what's wrong. You know, so he was my mother, my father, my husband. You know, soon father would be of my children. And I didn't want to be with nobody else but him. He was all I knew.
You never know what someone else is going through. You know, so and we're saying that we have sisters here at Masjid Muhammad. And we appeal to the sisters. Make sure you take her in. You know, bring her into your family. Give her a hug and let her know that you're going to be there for her and do whatever you can for her. And let her become a part of our extended family, inshallah. You had a question, brother?
Yes. This is actually directed toward the sisters. Now, so many sisters have hang-ups with being a boa. Right? And I just want to know, just from the sister's point of view, and talking to other sisters, you know, what's the vibe on that? What's the biggest hang-up that a sister has
Very good
in
question.
being a boa?
I think personally, I'm speaking for myself, I think a brother has to have his taqwa in place. Because you can be incarcerated in the mind with a brother out here on the street. If he's trying to have a certain control on you, but he's not going by what Allah says to, you know, Because going back to this brother's question, it may not be the material things. It may not be the money, because Allah's going to provide you with that anyway. But it's the treatment that a sister gets. It takes a special kind of brother to know how to treat a sister and make her heart feel well. And here's with the other sister. It's very seldom you see two sisters that a brother can take to Hajj and they're walking and shopping together and they're being able to call on the phone. Because he may make even fitna between the two of them. Who knows? But you have to be kind. That's all I'm saying. So I just feel as though it takes a special kind of brother that fears Allah, that he has taqwa in place. Because if he have all those things, the sister can't question him. She can't, because she see he fears Allah. So she can't question him. And again, she has to do what the imam said he said do. He feel as though he took on another wife because Allah said it was permissible. And then the sister has to lay back and say, hey, it's permissible. I can't fight against Allah. He has to have that.
That's
I
very.
have a question for the sister. Can we co-chair that class together?
I'm saying, I'm glad, and I'm glad she made that statement, it was really profound, because, I can say that, and seeing my wife in the audience, she knows I make her heart feel well. She won't smile down there. Any more questions? Yes, Oshia.
The sister has to take in consideration and realize something that's very important. That when you have children, you have a man that's incarcerated, that affects the children too, because it takes away from the child, especially at a young age. So if the brother's not there to give them some kind of constructive information, that's just like a single family home all over again. And we have to be conscious of that single family home structure and the way it's designed. It's designed to take the man out of the house. If the brother doesn't come into the relationship, first of all, with God, and realize that he has to be the provider, mentally, physically, spiritually, and to the children. He cannot offer any constructive spiritual information if he's incarcerated to his children.
We're going to have one more question, then I'm going to ask the final question to the panelists. Brother Idris?
Yes, I have a question for the sister Lukmina. Was there anyone in the Islamic community that you were in that advised you not to go into the marriage because that the brother was incarcerated and couldn't provide for you? Or was it mostly the consensus that it was okay to marry this brother? Or is that a problem with other sisters? Are they not getting advice from people out telling them not to do it?
You know what?
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to El Islamic Focus. We're going to have a question from Sister Khadija, and then our young sister want to respond to the question that Brother Oshia had in relationship to the children. So, Sister Khadija. Walaikum salam.
I wanted to know who, like, on a polygamy, when the husband decides to become a second wife, does it benefit him or benefit the first wife?
Let me say this to you, that really, it should be an extension of the family. And so really, like I said, it's not really so much to benefit him. It should be an overall thing. One, it should be taken on someone really who needs to be married, needs a husband, and need that family life and so forth. It's an extension. You find some people that say, well, I don't care, I'm the first wife, and that's the second wife. It don't go like that. I mean, it's an extension of the family. You bringing in, you expanding the family, and you extending the family. So it shouldn't be so much just to the benefit of the man. It should be of the benefit of the whole family situation. It should be for the benefit of everybody that's involved in it, not just the man. And like I said, a lot of times don't, make that mistake, that a lot of people think that it just benefits the man, it only benefits the man. Believe me, like I said, I've been at myself for almost 7 years and so forth. I've been married to my first wife for 25 years, second one for 7 years. And believe me, it's not no piece of cake for the man. It really isn't. And like I said, one of the reasons that I did it, again, one, I wanted to have more children, but also, that I wanted to be able to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that was permissible for me to do, able for me to do. And I wanted to be able to do it right. You want to be able to do it right. Like I said, it's not easy. It's not a piece of cake. You want to be able to do it right, and it's not so much who was going to benefit the man or whatever. it should benefit that sister that you're bringing in to the marriage. It should also benefit, your other family as an extension, all together. And that's really just how it works, though. But it's not just for benefit of just the man, thinking that he's going to have a lot of fun or this is just for him. It don't go like that.
And the sister, you wanted to respond to what the brother said in relationship to children?
Yes, it wasn't just about, having children, because I know that, it would have been a big discrepancy with me having children and raising them on my own, because I really couldn't raise myself. But, like growing up in group homes and in the streets or whatever, like you have to adapt, you have to try to be accepted by, many people. So to be trying to be accepted by other people and changing so much, I lost myself. So with me having these kids, I figured that, my kids are gonna love me for me. They're not gonna judge me. I don't have to adapt to a certain way or whatever like that. So that's why, I was going through with having the children or whatever. Because I wanted to be loved and accepted, and I didn't want to be judged.
But in the same response to children, we need that love too, because at a young age, the children, where's my dad? They see mommy all the time, where's my dad? Where's daddy at? And those are the questions that you are going to weigh on you because he's not around.
Yes, at the time, like, you really don't think about that. Like, I'm 19 years old. Yeah. I've been, on my own and through the system since I was 2. Being abused, misused, and mistreated or whatever like that. So all that, like, it really didn't matter to me. I just wanted to be accepted. I just wanted to feel love, and that's why, I was going to go on with having the babies. But, once I lost my children, I still didn't find myself. I'm still lost. I'm still alone. You know what I mean? And I'm still today trying to figure out, like, what's going to help me, what's going to, make me better. And, maybe, it's like, today I think I need to more so is love myself before I can have anybody else.
That you're here today.
Yeah. Yes.
But you know what? The children knew where their dad was, and they visited. So it wasn't not knowing where their father was or who they was, but it was
the quality time.
Right.
Said,
right. It was there.
The quality time. We can't get quality time.
Okay, we're going to close down now. We're running down to the time limit. I just want to ask the final question to the panelists, starting with my sister. What advice? You had a question, sister?
Yeah.
Okay. One more question, and then we're going to close it. Okay.
Yeah, I had a question about polygamy. Okay, it says in the Quran that one is best, and I've seen a lot of situations with like brothers having more than one wife, and their kids are just running them up. They have like over 20-something kids, and like I'm like, how do you handle that situation? Alhamdulillah, you have a lot of kids, but how are you going to give them all attention at the same time? Or how are they going to all grow up to be productive?
Well, that can be done.
If you're absent a lot.
I mean, really, that can be done because it is not so much about being absent a lot. It's not about that because really, again, it's an extension of the family. The whole family should be together and so forth. Now, whether the wives are there on different days or what have you, doesn't mean that they can't spend time with the children. And that's very important. But one of the things that I find is this right here. We live in a society where a mistress is fine, where 5, 10 girlfriends is fine. Where all this stuff, it doesn't matter. One sister told me that her husband, he can have as many girlfriends and stuff as he wants, as long as she don't know about it. And so that's not really a good situation because as Muslims, we don't live like that and we don't think like that. We want to do it right, and so because the sin comes in when that woman can't be announced to the community as a married woman. That's when the sin comes in. When you hide the person, when she can't be out in the open, when people can't know about her, that's the sin. And so to get that off of you and to do justice to the woman, she used to be known in the community as a married woman. And so for a person to say, well, my husband can have all the girlfriends he wants, as long as I don't know, or he can have a mistress on the side. When you look at the society, when so many people are against taking on a co-wife or doing the right situation, where you have so many politicians and presidents and everything else who have mistresses, sending the children to college, sending the money on the side, all this old kind of stuff. When you see situations like that, then when you see them now marrying men together, marrying women together, and you come into a situation that God says is permissible, and everybody's against it, everybody is up in arms against it. Now, I think what we need to do is try to figure out how we can get it right, and how we can do it right, to make it right.
I see what you're saying about polygamy and everything. I'm talking about the children. How are they, they're not being productive. They're not, being productive citizens now. They going to jail.
But it doesn't have anything.
Kids out of wedlock and all that stuff.
Doesn't have anything to do with polygamy. Doesn't have anything to do with that. I mean, that could be a person with one wife with 20 kids and the kids the same way. So it doesn't really have anything to do with having a co-wife or another wife. It doesn't really have anything to do with that type of situation of how the children will be raised up, and how they be.
They're turning out to be bad. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, that's in a couple situations that you may know.
Situations I know, but a lot of situations that I know are bad. I don't hear too many successful marriages where sisters are co-wives.
Well, like Carl said, we do some classes and show people and teach them how to do it better, how to do it right. And I think, just like you said, we need the success stories, to come forward, to say how, how to give them the encouragement and the advice of how it needs to be done and so forth. The only thing that I can tell you is this right here, that we're really, close, getting nearer and nearer to the end of time. Really, because all the signs that the prophet told us to look for, we're seeing them, and all these different things. And so we just need to keep on moving as close to God as we can, and just try to do the right thing and try to lead by example, and get this thing as right as possible. That's what I would say.
Alhamdulillah. So we're going to ask our final question to the panelists, and I'm going to start with you, my sister. And the question is, what advice would you give a sister that's going in that direction, meaning wanting to marry a brother that's already incarcerated?
Think about it before you just jump headfirst into it. It's not easy.
Sister Mina?
I wanted to say that in addition to night longings, in addition to not getting financial support, she's going to miss a lot of milestones in your life. He's going to miss the birth of kids. He's going to miss deaths. He's going to miss graduations. He's going to miss special events. And every time you're at a special event, he's not there with you, you're going to be wanting him to be there with you. And you're going to be longing for him to be there with you. But he's not going to be there with you.
Yeah, only thing that I think, and I think one thing, and really think about it, that it sounds like, brothers incarcerated are going to have a long night. And so one of the things that I would like to say, really, first of all, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being to be free. And so, really, try to stay out of those situations, as close and as much as you can, because it's not going to be a good situation for you. And I think, too, that the brother should expose to the sister how much time he actually has left. I mean, there's a lot of good people in prison. Everybody in prison are not bad. But he should definitely let her know. Don't lie to her. If I got 2 years, I got 2 years. If I got 5 years, I got 5 years. If I got 20, I got 20. If that person decides to make that decision, because one thing that you have to remember, too, there's always somebody out here for everybody. You got to remember that, too. And you also have to remember that the women still outnumber the men 11 to 1 or 20 to 1, whatever it is. And so, if that person, finds a person up in prison, me, like I said, just me personally, I would perform marriages to people up in prison. I don't do that no more. I might did maybe 2 or 3 that I can remember, but that's something that I just don't look to do anymore. And so, again, but like I said, there's somebody out there for everybody. The brother should let the sister know how much time he has, left, and she needs to make that decision. But, again, sisters really probably need to look in the masjids, or even look at, going into a co-wife situation or something like that, before they just think that that's the best.
Thank you very much. We'd like to thank our panelists for taking out time from their busy schedule. Again, we'd like to thank you, the guests, for being here. I'm Imam Jamil Abdullah. We thank you for being on our program, El Islamic Focus, from an African-American perspective. Thank you very much. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.
Did you take
Today's Hadith class was introduced by Jamil Aziz. The Hadith class speaker was Brother Muhammad Al Mahdi. The director of photography, Bilal Hassan. Engineer, Bilal Hassan, Idris Guyton. Producers, Bilal Hassan, Idris Guyton. Executive producer for today's show, Suchuddin Muhammad. Director, Idris Guyton. Islam in Focus and moderator and host, Imam Jamil Abdullah. Lighting by Bilal Hassan. Writers for the show, Imam Jamil Abdullah and Idris Guyton. Director of photography, Bilal Hassan. Set director, Bilal Hassan. Artistic design, Idris Guyton. And we'd like to thank our special guests, Sister Asada Muhammad, Mukmina Days, and Imam Suchuddin Muhammad.